We're doing passage 6. This is a research passage 61C. So it's a quick reminder for our DRC approach for research passages. You're going to read, not carefully, just skim the passage. You want to get an idea for the studies and the differences between the studies, but don't spend a lot of time before you get the questions for most students. Now, this is passage 6. Now remember, every passage is there's not a particular order on ACT Science. But you know it's research because it says study 1, study 2, study 3. It'll usually say study or experiment and study 4. So this is a lot of studies in this one. If you have time, I do like to skim the intro, but if you don't have time, you can skim it more quickly and go to the questions. So in this one, at least look at the X and Y axis, change in AGBT, and they have that in italics up here, above ground tree biomass, if that helps you to understand. And then distance from center of the plot. So it looks like they're monitoring a plot and a change in biomass. And then study 2, looks like they're doing average change over 17 years was monitored, and its 25-year average was 0. Study 3 looks like they're doing years and average cumulative percent change. And study 4 captures, they have a key here of types of animals, I suppose, and the number of years, I'm assuming, from the inception of clearing. So you might want to read a little more carefully than that, but it's probably enough to go straight to questions. Remember our R and R approach to the questions. You're going to read the question to orient yourself to what it's asking. Sometimes you might even want to put it into your own words to say, here's what I'm trying to find, and then reread it, and you're breaking it down step by step as you go. Okay, so you've read the question. We're on our second read through then. We're going to break it down in study 4. Put your finger on study 4. As time increased from year 0 to 6, that's your x-axis, 0 to 6, the captures, 1,000 hours, of frugivores, that's the squares, and what did they do? They decreased only, so F. Okay, let's break down question 31. Based on the results of study 4, put your finger on study 4. How did the fragmentation most likely affect the population sizes of insectivores? So that's the triangle. So insectivores is here, and it decreased only, so that's either going to be B or C. Fragmentation decreased the size of insectivores and hummingbirds in B, decreased insectivores and increased hummingbirds in D. So, and hummingbirds, so that's the triangle, that one increases only, so the answer is going to be D. Let's break down question 32. Based on the results of study 1, so put your finger on study 1. The distance from the center of the 100-meter by 100-meter plots, this is just telling you that what you see is the same. We're 75 meters from the nearest clearing. So we first need to understand that this is the average line, right? So it's going to, you can see there's kind of a trend, even though that's not all right on there, but 75 meters then will be about right here. The expected average change in AGBT would be what over 17 years. So, and again, 17 years, we know that's the time of the study. So we look at our numbers and they're negative. So it's about negative 2.6, so G. Don't get tripped up and accidentally say J because these are negative numbers. So make sure you have the correct numbers. After examining the results of study 2, so finger on study 2, that's the one without a chart or a graph with it, a student concluded that the AGTB of the 25 plots remained constant. So we see that the remained constant, average change was 0. Which of the following alternative explanations is also consistent? So if we did A, that all 25 plots increase, well, that wouldn't make sense. That couldn't be an example. All 25 plots decrease, that couldn't be true. Some increased and some decreased. That could definitely be so. Let's say you have a line of best fit here, and you have one that goes up and the next one goes down. That's going to average to 0, right? Another one goes up 2, the other one goes down 2, up 3, down 3. So some goes up while some goes down. the average change will still be 0. So your answer has to be C. There's a lot to do in this question. So which of the following sets of results from the studies is least consistent with the prediction proposed by the researchers? So put your finger on the prediction. First paragraph tells you researchers predicted that fragmentation would result in a decrease in animal populations and a decrease in above ground tree biomass, right? So it's going to go down. So we've actually kind of already answered this question. We've seen it already, but in case we don't remember, let's go through them each at a time. So the result of study 1, finger on study 1, and this one's tricky. If you get it wrong, you probably chose F because you see this line increases. You think, oh, that's not decreasing. But as you move from distance from center, there is less change, right? So there's more decrease as you are closer to the fragmentation. So so F is incorrect. Choice G. Okay, so the results of study 3. So as years progress, average change in AGBT. So as years progress, that you're going to get more and more change. So there is a decrease as the years progress. So your answer G is incorrect as well. So that supports what they're saying. So we get study 4. Study 4, we have frugivores. We're saying a decrease in animal population. We should see a decrease in animal population. So frugivores are the squares, and we do see a decrease. But in J, hummingbirds, we see a slight increase. We actually already answered this question in question 31. So if you'd remembered that, this might have been a quick question. If not, you got to break them down one at a time and think through them. So your answer is J. Pretty hard question. 35. In study 4, put your finger on study 4, the researchers trapped birds for 10,000 hours per year. Thus, how many insectivores were trapped? Okay. So captures per 1,000 hours. So we're going to multiply that times 10 to get to 10,000. Insectivores are the diamonds. We're doing year 2, so right there. So if we have 80 in 1,000 hours, we have 800 in 10,000 hours because you have to multiply it times 10. So that's a tricky one. If you got it wrong, you probably said A without realizing you're doing 10,000 hours instead of 1,000 hours. So here's our answers. Number 30 is F, 31 is D, 32 G, 33 C, 34 J, and 35 is C.